Welcome back, participants. Very good afternoon to all. On behalf of the Department of Computer Science and Information Sciences, Jagadguru Rambhadrachar Divyanga University, Chitrakoot, as a convener of 1 week national workshop on best practices of ICT tools in teaching and learning. In second session, today in session, our guest speaker P. Subbulakshmi from Department of Mathematics, Stella College, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. I welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
She has published a number of research papers at national and international journals and number of book chapters in various national and international books also. She has also attended and delivered the lecture in number of conferences, seminar, workshop, etc. at national and international level. Now I invite P. Subbulakshmi, ma'am, please deliver your lecture, hand-on session lecture on Jamboard and Whiteboard. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that very nice introduction. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Anand Kumar, the convener of this workshop, the entire organizing team, and the management of the JRU University who have invited me to deliver a talk on Jamboard and Whiteboard with hands-on session. Let me begin with my presentation. So today we will look into two tools, Jamboard and Whiteboard. The Jamboard and Whiteboard are tools which can be used by teachers to mimic their classrooms experiences, and have their students interact with each other at the same time, and also provide overview which can be monitored in real time. Jenny Albrecht says, technology can become the wings that will allow the educational world to fly farther and faster than ever before if we will allow it. With the advent of technology, we are trying to cope up with this pandemic situation as best as possible. But teachers will definitely miss their classroom experiences. This Jamboard, which was introduced by Google, is a collaborative digital whiteboard which makes it easy to create and share ideas in real time without boundaries. This is actually moving the whiteboard to the cloud. We can easily get students collaborating in innovative ways using this Google Jamboard. This can also be used as an app on a tablet or a smartphone or from a browser with the Jamboard web app. All that you need to use this Jamboard is only a Gmail account, and this is absolutely free to use. Let's go hands-on. Let's go hands-on with this Jamboard and then come back to whiteboard a little later. Is the screen visible? I hope the screen is visible. So
Yes.
we can start using the Google Jamboard by either typing in Google as Google Jamboard, and the first link that pops up can be used, or we can directly type jamboard.google.com as shown here in the address bar. As you open this, you will be able to see that you have, it will appear that you don't have a jam yet. Tap plus to create one. That is, you will have to click on the plus that is there in the bottom right corner of this to create a new jam. Let's click on this. And this is how a new jam will be opened. And first of all, let's rename our Jamboard. Here it is customarily named as Untitled Jam. Let me name it as my first Jamboard. Okay. Now let's look into what all features that can be captured using this Jamboard. First of all, you can see that there are some tools towards the left of your screen. Let's explore the tools. This is the pen, the erase, select, sticky note, add image, and the laser. Sticky note is my favorite one. So let's begin with this. This sticky note, you can see some colors on the top. You can see these are the colors that can be used. And the last one is a blank one. So let's just type something in the sticky note. Hey, welcome one and all. And once I click save, it will be saved here in the Jamboard. I can either rotate this using this arrow that is seen towards the corner, and I can select this and drag it anywhere and position it in any corner of my Jamboard. And you see there are three dots towards this corner. What are they? I can edit them, I can duplicate the same, and I can delete. Edit this, it allows me to overwrite whatever I have written. Say welcome one and all, I would like to say good afternoon. And then I can save it. Now it just gets edited. The next is I can duplicate it. When I click duplicate, I will receive another copy of the same sticky note will be created. Say I'm clicking duplicate, another copy is created like this. Yes, and then again, when I delete it, it just goes off from my board. The next tools that I can use would be this pen. In pen, there are some variations. The first one is a pen, the second is a marker, the third is a highlighter, and the last is a paintbrush. And the bottom ones are the colors that I can use. Black, blue, green, white, yellow, and red. The pen, choosing the pen, and I can choose the color that I wish to write to it. Let me choose blue. I wish to write something in this. Say I'm writing hello. I can either write it in the cursive handwriting or the normal handwriting that you use to write, or pressing the shift key, you will get it as straight lines. Okay. I can also write it like this. The next is a marker. You can, in case you have some text that is already written and you want to highlight them when you're teaching, you can underline like this. It will highlight whatever you have already written on the text. It can also highlight an image. Let's see it sometime later. The next is a highlighter. I can highlight it, that is, I can run through this. Probably I'll use another color. Let me choose another color, say red, and I can highlight on the word that you're talking on. Choosing red color. So you can highlight the color that you're talking on. As you can mark in a book or as you can highlight in a book, you can also do it here. The last is a paintbrush. You can paint anything here. Let me choose a color, say green, and I paint something over this. Okay. So these are all the different things that you can do with the pen tool. The next is the erase tool. Erase is something, is just an eraser that can erase that anything the pen has done. For example, if you have highlighted something, if you have written or painted something, this can erase. Say, I can erase all of these text, but at the same time, you cannot erase the sticky note or any other image or anything else that you have done on this board. It can only erase whatever you have done with the pen tool. That is, whatever you have written, highlighted, or marked. Okay. The next is a select tool. This can select any object that is there on the board. It can either select a sticky note or an image or anything that you have kept on the Jamboard. The next is add image. When you add image, you can either select files from your device, or you can Google search any image here, or you can add it from your Google Drive, or you can add it from your photos. Say I'm going to add it from my photos here. I will select this and say select. And now the picture is added. Again, I can orient this picture in any way. I can resize it. I can resize it. I can resize it to any position, and you can also duplicate this picture or delete it. You cannot, the editing option is not available for picture, but you can duplicate and delete it. Similarly, for a sticky note also, you can resize it to any extent you want. Okay. The next is the laser tool. For example, I have written something like this. Let me write some more and then illustrate the laser tool. I'm choosing blue color and I'm writing hello. Okay. And now this laser tool is a tool that will highlight and automatically go off as you proceed. I repeat, it will highlight and it will automatically go off as you proceed. The path the laser tool has traced will keep on changing. Will keep on disappearing as you move. So this can be used when you want to highlight something during your class. So what are the instances that you can use this Google Jamboard could be? You can insert any presentation, the image of any slide that you have already done, any presentation that you have already created. You can just insert it as an image and explain using your highlighter, marker, or your laser tool. Okay, let's explore some more options that are there here. This is the redo button. This can also be used, this can also be accessed by using Control Z. And this is your undo. I'm sorry, this is your undo and this is your redo button. This can also be used by clicking your Control Z and Control Y. And similarly, for duplicating, it is not necessary you have to use only your duplicate option that is there in the corner of the objects. You can also use your Control C and Control V. For example, I'm just clicking a Control C on my keyboard and I'm now pressing the Control V on my keyboard. You see that the object is duplicated. Okay. This is a zoom option. This is the fit to window option, which the shortcuts again are shown towards the right itself. This is a 25%, 100% zoom, and you can also manually zoom in using your Control Alt plus plus and Control Alt minus. The next is the background option. There are 7 different backgrounds that are available. The first is a plain background that we are right now using. The second is a dotted one. And the third is the notebook kind of a background where you see ruled lines. And the next is a grid that you can use when you're trying to draw a graph and explain to your students, particularly if you are teaching mathematics. The next is again another grid that can be used for teaching, and this is the blue or the black background. You can choose your background as per your wish and as per your needs. And this clear frame is the option that if you click something, if you click this, all the objects, all that you have done, all the contents on the board will be deleted. See, I'm clicking this clear frame. Now it just becomes a blank frame. Okay. So now let's go to the top. You see something 1 bar 1. What is this? You can see a bottom arrow which expands this frame bar. Frame is nothing but the image like this. Each frame can be imagined as a page in a notebook. Now, what do you do if you want to add frames? You can see a plus towards your right and the left. Yes. If you add a plus towards this, and a slide will be added at the back. And if you click on the plus towards this, a slide will be added to the previous to the slide that is existing. So this is a slide that is the first slide here. You can expand this and preview your slides that is already done. And by clicking this arrow, you can collapse it and work on any frame that you have done. So this can also be used like a presentation tool. First slide. Let me go to the first slide. Yes, this is the first slide. I'm clicking the arrows on the side here. And I can write anything here. Say I'm writing welcome. If you are using a smart board, you can also use a stylus to do your writing. Since I'm using a browser, I'm trying to do it with my mouse. You can also use your smartphone and hence use the stylus here. So this will be your second slide, and the last slide you can insert an image, say for a thank you. Say I want to add an image. Again, I want to add the same image or the next image, say here. So this can be your thank you. So you can create a presentation also using this Google Jamboard. Okay. The next is, let's see some more options that are provided for us here. You can see when you click on the three dots towards the top right corner of your screen, you can rename your jam. As you can either rename by clicking on the name, or you can choose a rename option that is here. And the next is download as PDF. When I click download as PDF, the whole Jamboard will be downloaded as a PDF with each frame as one page. Okay. I hope you are able to see the PDF that is created. This is our first page. This is a second page with just a black background, and the third page with the image. Okay. And I can save each image. If I want to save only one particular frame, then that can be saved as an image by clicking this option, save frame as an image. Okay. I'm just opening this image to show you. I hope the image is visible here. The next is you can remove the Jamboard the entirely, or make a copy of the same frame that you're working with. When I say make a copy, the same frame can be duplicated. And the next is you can check the latest updates that can be that are released by Google from time to time. And this is if you have any problems, or if you want to say something, you can send feedback to Google using this link. The next is this very important share button. So when I click on the share, the whole idea of Jamboard is to use it as an interactive tool when you want to have an interactive classroom or an engaging classroom with your students. So clicking on the share button, you see that you can add any email here, the email of any person or teacher whom you want to share this with, or your students. And then you can get link here. So when you click this, you can see anyone with the link, and towards the right you can see there are two options there. The person whom you share with can either be a viewer of your jam or the editor. A viewer will not have any access to your any access to the content that you have already created in your jam. An editor will be able to edit it. So in case I am choosing editor, okay, and I'm copying this link, and I'm going to go into another window, another tab, to just show you this. So now this is the students tab. Okay, this is my teachers tab, and this is my students tab. Since I have given access to editing, the student can erase or do any editing that is possible. For example, they can erase. So how do you go about with reading this? The best teacher move could be to explain how the students can behave on an online class, some rules and regulations that can be followed in an online class. And hence, and if you don't want your students to edit it, then what you do, you go back to your teacher's screen and change the access to the viewer. Now it's just getting updated. You click on done. I'm going to my students board. I just refresh. The permission is updated here. I'll just go into another window to show you this. Is my window visible? Is my second window visible? Yes. Now I can see that there are
Yes,
no
ma'am.
tools towards the left of my screen. That is, the student doesn't have any access to edit my Jamboard now. Now the student can only see what I'm doing. Whatever I do will be updated here as it is. Okay. So let's go back to the teacher's Jamboard. What are the instances that you can use this Jamboard for? Let's say, for example, I want to ask you, I want to insert any image. For example, let me insert the image of a sea. I'm selecting this image. It just gets added here. Now, I want to ask something about, I can share this jam with my students as I just did sometime before. And you can ask your students, what do you observe about this picture? Or if it is a beginning class, if it is an introductory session, you can ask something about what you have learned from the previous class and so on and so forth. And you can also create a presentation using this Jamboard as I mentioned before. Okay. So, and about sharing, you can either share it using the email ID of the people whom you want to share with, or you can copy this link and paste it anywhere, either in the chat box of a Google Meet or a Zoom or any other learning management system that you're using with. And the students can also create their own Jamboard for any assignment that you're asking for using their own creativity and submit it to you as an assignment by just sharing their link with you. Okay. So that is all with Jamboard. I'm done with it. I'm just sharing my screen a minute. Okay. The next we move on to the whiteboard. Whiteboard, which is also known as the interactive board or a smart board, is a large interactive display that is represented in the form of a whiteboard. It can be used on any device, from a smartphone to any connected apparatus like a computer, and it can be used in a variety of settings. That is for education purpose, for people who are conducting board meetings in a corporate office, and so on and so forth. And it can also be utilized at all levels of education, beginning from primary to higher education level. And this can also be used as an instant formative assessment tool, which provides live feedback and immediate overview over the students. Let's see how this works. Now I'm just going hands-on with the whiteboard. Okay. Now I can access whiteboard by either typing whiteboard.py. Whiteboard.py, you can either type it in the address bar or the search bar. I'm just typing it in the address bar, and the this interface opens up. So you see there are two options for you. You can either create a new class or you can join a class. If you are a teacher, you will create a new class. If you are a student, you will join a class that your teacher has asked to join. So now I would like to take the role of a teacher. I would create a new class. You can also do that by choosing these two icons on the top right corner, or you can use this as well. Let me create a new class. As I click, I have to name my class. Let me say my first class. Okay. And now there are a lot of settings. As you move down, there are a lot of settings here. Let's explore this sometime later. Just ignoring this, I'm just creating my new class. Okay. Now, this is how your window appears when you create your new class. So, when you create your new class, you can access your class using two ways. The first way could be your room code that is appearing here, or that you can use this link. So, how can you ask your students to join your class? You can either share this link with your students through any medium, which they can paste in their address bar to join your class, or you can just give them this room code. So now, let me go to the new window. To show you how a student can join a class. So here I'm just copying my link G7KR6, and I'll go and paste it in the address bar of my new window. Now I see I have the option to join my whiteboard class. So the student can enter any name. Say the student's name is Jack. I'm entering Jack, and I'm clicking join whiteboard class. Okay. The name of the class can be seen here, my first class, and this is toggle teacher whiteboard. Okay, let's come back to this sometime later. I'll move on to my window. So in my window, you see there is a whiteboard of the Jack who has already entered into my class. So this my class tab is necessary to show the whiteboards of your students who have joined your class. The next is this my whiteboard. Okay, so let's see what all features are available here for us. To begin with, there are a few features here. Let's explore them one by one. This is the free drawing mode. Free drawing mode, as you click this, you also see there are a few options in the bottom here. The fill color, say I'm choosing a blue color, and I can write anything here. Say I'm writing hello or a hi. You can also change the size or the thickness of your pen. Say I'm writing here, you see the thickness has increased a lot. And this is the opacity. Opacity is how dark you want the color to appear on your screen. For example, I've reduced my opacity now, and now you see that it has become light compared to the previous one. So these are the options that are available with your freehand mode. You can also draw anything, or you can do anything that you want to write with your freehand. The next is the erase tool. Here again, the erase tool can erase anything that you have already written. For example, I'm just erasing the hi that I've already written here. Okay. And if you want, for example, if you want to erase this, you have to keep on erasing for a longer time so as to make this object disappear. So what do? You have another tool here. So say the size. This is nothing but the size of the eraser. I'm just enlarging the size of my eraser, and now you can erase a larger area. You can manage your size, or you can adjust your size as per your requirement. The next is a text box tool. So uh, I have inserted a text box here, and I can type anything. Welcome. So since I have reduced my opacity, it is looking very light. I'll add another text box. As you add the text box, you can place it anywhere on your screen, and by double clicking on it, you'll be able to erase anything that is there or edit anything that you want to. Okay. So let me write welcome here. And anything, any text that you want to write, you can type in here. The next is a line tool that can be useful for any mathematical description. You can draw a line. Okay. You can draw a single headed arrow as you see here, or you can also draw a double headed arrow. And the next, you can insert the image of a triangle. So this triangle, I'm just inserting, after clicking this, I'm just inserting a triangle here on my whiteboard. Okay. And as the previous tool, there are few options here. You can change the fill color if you want, and you can reduce the opacity of the color that you're using if you wish to. The next is I'm inserting a rectangle, and the next is you can insert a circle. And then this is you can insert any polygon. So this is for inserting any polygon here. The next is you can insert any image. For example, I want to insert an image. You can either insert it from your folder that you already have. So this is some screenshot that I have already taken. I've just inserted that image. And you can insert a background image as well. When you insert a background image, this image will act as a background, and you can write anything over it. You can insert a text box over it. You can write anything over it, and so on and so forth. You can add a shape or add a polygon over this. Okay. So this is all about the tools that are there on the top. Let's come down. Now there are few options here. What is this? This clear whiteboard will clear all the contents that are there on your whiteboard. Okay, so I'm clicking this. This will remove all the clutter that has already happened. Now you see my whiteboard has turned into a new one. The next is this Actions tab. This Actions tab is, there are a few options here. So first let me type in something. Let's say I'm writing welcome. Okay. So now I want to push my whiteboard to all students. See, I'm clicking on the option push whiteboard to all students. You see a notification that your whiteboard was pushed to all students. Now let me go to my students tab and check what has happened. Now you see the students whiteboard has the text welcome. That is, whatever I have edited in my whiteboard will appear here. Toggle teacher whiteboard is the option for looking into the teacher's whiteboard. So this is my whiteboard and this is the student's whiteboard. So now you see that the teacher's whiteboard has been pushed onto the student's whiteboard. Now I'm going back to my teacher's tab. The next option is the flatten layers. When you click on flatten layers, you will see that the image flattened, all objects are saved into the background image. So that is, these whatever text or image or lines that you have inserted here will become a background image and you will be able to write anything over it. For example, let me draw a line over this. You see that you can do anything. You can insert a triangle over this. This the text or the image or any content that you have already added before clicking on flatten layers will act as your background image. The next is this insert option. What all options do I have in this insert? You can insert a grid, a small grid. This is a small grid that you could insert. And another option to insert your large grid. This is a larger grid. These grids can be used to explain any graph that you want in mathematics and so on and so forth. I'm just drawing a line here. You could draw your axis, you could draw your curves and explain anything that you want. And the next is insert math. This is a tool that would be especially helpful for the teachers who are teaching mathematics. So I click on this. You can insert any mathematical equation here. Okay. So you can either type in whatever you want. For example, I type x square. I'm just pressing on the tab key and I'm pressing 2. And then to see that, when I click on insert math, inserting math, you see that this x square is inserted here. Okay. So you could see, you can move this to any position of the board that you want. Another way to do this is when you click on this insert math, one is using typing in the editor, and the next is by inserting a LaTeX code. For people who are already familiar with LaTeX, it is okay, or else LaTeX is a documentation tool that can be used to typeset mathematics. So this x square equals 4y. This inserting math here. And you see that the equation x square equal to 4y is inserted on my whiteboard. Okay. So these are the options that can be performed using these action steps. And the next is enable simple mode for teacher. What is enable simple mode? Simple mode will can be used when you want to use only lesser functionalities. Now I'm just toggling this simple mode, and now I'm going to my whiteboard. You see that there are lesser functionalities enabled with the tools that I had already used before. You see here the stroke, the fill, you cannot work on your opacity, you cannot change your thickness to the extent that you were able to change before. There are only these possible thicknesses, and you can insert a text. You cannot insert a triangle here, you can insert only a square or a rectangle as shown here, and the undo and redo options remain the same, and a clear whiteboard just comes here. Okay, so this can be used if you wish to have lesser functionality, or if you are using an internet connection that has a lower bandwidth, then also you can use this. For example, when we were inserting math equations, we saw that there were little delays in inserting them. All those math equations cannot be inserted here. When you are taking an introductory class where you do not need all of these, then you might go for this simple mode. The next is the slow mode. I am just toggling back to simple mode. And now my whiteboard has resumed the normal functionality. The next is a slow mode for the teacher. What is a slow mode? Let's explore that. So the slow mode has, you see that there is another tab added called the save whiteboard. Till now, whatever we had done, even in the Jamboard, when we did editing, it was saved automatically. And one thing that I forgot to say was, any jam that you edited or created, you needn't save anywhere. It will automatically be saved in the drive account that is associated with the Gmail account of this jam. And here as well, when you edit any whiteboard, you don't have to save it anywhere. It will automatically get saved in the browser here. Now, what happens is, when we use the slow mode, you have to save manually. When you are using some internet connection with a lower bandwidth, when there are delays when you are saving an object, then you might have to say, for example, I'm inserting some text, say month. So now I have inserted math here. Now I'm going to my students tab, and I see that there is my teachers tab doesn't have any math written here, any text written here. So that is because I have not saved what I have written. So in the slow mode, as you keep editing your whiteboard, you have to keep saving it as you do it for any Word document or any other document. So you see a notification that the whiteboard is saved. And now you go back to your students tab and see that the text math is inserted here. Okay. So this is about the functionalities That can be done here. And the next is, let us go to the settings button towards the corner here. What happens here? You see the room code, which you can instantly share on any other chat or any other through email without going back to your classes, without hindering your classes. The next is enable waiting lobby. So let's just check in this. I'm enabling waiting lobby. Now I will log in. I am just copying this room code and I'm going to join as a student through a new incognito window. I'm sorry. I type whiteboard.5. So as you resume class, a minute. Probably I have to sign out of my account, I believe. So I click on resume class and I see that this is there. The student that I have already added. I'm just clicking on this leave room to, I'm just going back to the new page and now I'm pasting the new code, the code that I've already created for my class. And now I'm joining the class. Say this time I name my student as some, say, Jenny, and I join the whiteboard class. It says that you're waiting in the lobby. So this is because the teacher has enabled the waiting lobby. Now you come back to your class and you see that in the lobby there is one student waiting for you and the name appears here. You can either accept or kick out the student. So I accept and I see that the next student is added into my classroom. So this is the purpose of your waiting lobby. You can enable this when you don't want to get instant notifications when your students try to join your class as you're going ahead with your class. The next is this lock room option. Okay. So what happens to this lock room option is you will not be able to admit any students into your class as you click on this lock room. Your students will not be able to enter into your class, or you will not even see their uh, willingness to join your class in your room. So this can be done to avoid any disturbance or to avoid any chaos that is happening here. The next is enable student image upload. So let's see what happens. I'm checking in enable student image upload. I'm going to my students tab and I see that another tool, namely the insert image and an insert background image, has been added here. Previously, these tools were not there. Let me just go back and show you. Once I disable that option, I have disabled the image option and now you see that there are no insert image options for my student. The next is enable slow mode for students. This mode can be enabled when you want to have a very inclusive environment, when your students want to join, when you want to cope up with students who do not have an internet connection with high bandwidth and so on and so forth, or you can also do it. So I have a minute. I have enabled slow mode for my students. I am going on to my students tab now, and you can see that a tab, namely the same whiteboard, has been introduced here. So now here again, whatever the student writes, you may not be able to see it immediately. For example, say the student is writing hi. Okay. So now let me go to my teachers tab. This is my teachers tab. And I see that there is an empty whiteboard here. There is nothing written here because my student has not saved what has been done. Okay, so let me save the whiteboard here. And now I'm going to my teachers tab and I see that Jenny has written a hi on her whiteboard. The next settings could be, I'm just checking this option off. And the next thing could be force simple mode for students. That is, when you want to have your students use only lesser functionalities, then you can use this options. So now you can see, as in the teacher's whiteboard, the student's whiteboard also has very less functionalities. So this mode is the same, but the student can also choose to have a simple whiteboard, or you can force simple mode on your students as a teacher. And the next could be, you can hide the names of your students. So when you go to this My Class tab, you can see the whiteboards of your students with their names. For example, if you have given any question for assessment, for example, let me clear my whiteboard here. And let me disable the slow mode. And I'm seeing that I'm inserting a text here. For example, I ask a question. What are the ways you could enter or you could join a whiteboard classroom? A minute, I'm just resizing this. So if this is a question that I have asked my students, and now I can push my whiteboard to the students. Through the Actions tab, I'm pushing my whiteboard to all the students. And I'm going to my Students tab. I'm just refreshing it. This is my whiteboard, and this is when I click on Toggle Teacher Whiteboard, this is my whiteboard, and this is my student's whiteboard. Okay. So now the student can enter in anything. For example, the student is entering by using the room code. And since I have enabled simple mode, only this much can be done by my student. He cannot insert any images or so on and so forth. And now I'm going back to my Teachers tab. And you can see that by using the room code, the answer that has been given by my student appears on my Teachers tab. Okay. So that is, you can monitor whatever your students are doing real time, and you can give real time feedback. Okay. So this is one way that you could use your whiteboard. So if you don't want to see what all updates that your students are doing immediately, for example, you're asking them to solve a very big problem, or you're asking them to think on something and then giving some time to get your final answer, but what you want to grade is only the final answer, then what you do is you enable your slow mode for the students. So then what would happen? Whatever your student does will not be visible for you immediately. For example, I'm inserting another text here. Say thank you. Okay. So this text will not be visible here unless and until I save my whiteboard here. So what will happen? The student will work on the answers and once he or she finishes with the final answer, then they will save the whiteboard and only then it will appear on your teacher's tab. Okay. I'm just refreshing it. The whiteboard is saved for the student. And now, whatever the changes that had already been done here can be noticed on the class tab of the teacher. See, the thank you has appeared on the teacher's tab here. So this can also be an instance where you can use your simple mode for students. The next is in case all your students have responded and you are evaluating your responses and you want to be unbiased, then you can hide your names if you don't want to. Or if you don't want to distinguish your students by your name, you just want to see their responses as a class, then you can disable and you can see that the names of the students have disappeared from the whiteboard. And the next is clear all the whiteboards. When I press on this clear all whiteboards, all these whiteboards are both my students and the teacher's whiteboard will be clear. So let me do this option at the end. And the next is save all whiteboards as a PDF. So when I click on this, you can write anything if you want. For example, let me say today's class. And if you have given any question and if you have asked your students to answer, then you can also check in this include teacher whiteboard if you wish to have your whiteboard as a record as well. And then you can save as PDF. And you can see that. So this is the teacher whiteboard. You can see the date and the time being updated as well. This is the first student, Jack's whiteboard, and this is the second student, Jenny's whiteboard. You can also save it here and you can evaluate it or keep it as a record as you to refer back as the time you please. The next is clear all whiteboard. This clear all whiteboard will clear all the whiteboards of both the teacher and the student. So this is about the functionalities of the settings button here. And about this closed room option, I'll come a little bit later. And when you enable simple mode here, as I mentioned, I'm just enabling simple mode for the teacher. As I mentioned, there are reduced functionalities here. And also, the clear whiteboard option gets shifted here. And in the actions, there are some reductions as well. I cannot flatten my layers and I cannot insert any grid or mathematical operations. So this is another reduced functionality that I wanted to show you when you enable the simple mode. Okay, so let's go ahead with the students tab and see what happens. What are the settings there? So the settings here is, now that I have enabled slow mode for the students, I'm just taking that off to view all the functionalities there, and force simple mode for the students is also checked off. Okay, so now I'm going to my students tab. I'm just refreshing. So this is the complete functionality of my student. As you see, the tools for the teacher, there are a few tools for the student as well, except for the insert image option. And as you click any tool, there are various other settings that can be made by the corrections that are shown below or by other features that are shown here. And this toggle teacher whiteboard, as I mentioned before, is to view the whiteboard of your teacher. And the next, this setting button This clear whiteboard can be used to clear the whiteboard of the student alone. You cannot, as a student, I cannot clear the whiteboard of my teacher. I can only clear the whiteboard of my board, my whiteboard. I cannot clear the whiteboard of my teacher. The next is use simple editor. The simple editor is nothing but the simple mode to have only reduced functionality. So only the wordings are different, but the action is just the same. The next is save whiteboard as an image. As a student, I can save only my whiteboard, and I can save my whiteboard as an image for record. As you see, the image is saved as the frame, or the whiteboard is saved as the image. The next is this leave room option. When I click on this leave room option, I will come out of my class, and I won't be able to access any more contents from the whiteboard of my teacher, or the contents from the whiteboard, or any other. I cannot do insert any text or images, or do any other interaction with my class. Okay, so you left the room. Thank you for using whiteboard.5. So this is how my student whiteboard will appear. And now I go back to my class and I refresh. And this option, close room, will be available, can be used when you want to leave the classroom on the whole and go out of the classroom. And the next important thing that you have to note here is no content will be available with any third party or you when you have left the classroom. You cannot access any content that you have created in your whiteboard, or what your students have answered back to you, or whatever your students have created. The only way to keep track of what has already happened in the class to save all your whiteboards as PDF, or you can ask your students to save their whiteboards as images, and you can share it with them, or they can share it with you. So only these much can be possible in the closed room. And in one way, this whiteboard is kind of a more inclusive software, where it is 100% safe and secure to use, because you do not need even a Gmail account or any other account to be able to use this whiteboard.5. All that you need is a browser. You just have to type in whiteboard.5. You can create a class instantly and you can go about using it. So now I'm closing my room. I won't be able to access any of my contents. Okay, so this is how it appears when I close. So I'm just swapping my screen sharing. So some important features of the whiteboard could be, it gives me instant access to create a classroom or make my students create a class from wherever I am and from whatever device I'm using. And that is, it is device independent. You could either use a smartphone, or you could use a tablet or a PC or a Chromebook or anything for that matter. You can access it from any device or with any internet connection. And the next is, it is 100% safe and secure. The privacy is completely validated here, and because no content is saved with the whiteboard as you close your room, or you don't have to have any email account, or you don't have to have any other login to be able to use this whiteboard. And the next is, you have complete control over your class. That is, you can monitor your students live, real time, and give them feedback, as whatever the students are doing in their whiteboard can be accessed or can be seen using your My Class tab in your whiteboard. You can actually see them real time as you see as you see their notebooks in a class, and you can give them live overviews. And there are versatile tools. For example, you can freehand write, you can insert shapes, you can insert images, and so on. And there are specialized tools for inserting equations for mathematics as well. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to take. And I have completed both the things.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I have one
Thank you.
question.
Yes,
And
sir.
flash it, flash it on your screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Please.
this one. This one. I think she has got the answer.
Oh, okay. Sir, I'm not able to see anything on my screen. Can you please read out the question, sir?
Okay, no problem.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
as the question is, do we need to register ourselves for using whiteboard or any can use it?
No, sir. Any user can use it. No login or no email account is needed to access this. You just need to have an internet connection, or this. That is why I mentioned this is a very inclusive tool where it can accommodate student or teachers even with slow, who have internet connections with low bandwidth and so on. I hope this
And
has answered her question, sir.
yeah. Thank you, ma'am,
Yes,
uh,
sir. I
for
would like to
your
conclude by saying this: we need
wonderful
technology in
and
every
nice
class. Sir,
elaboration
a
on
minute.
advanced. Yeah,
Yes, sir. We need technology in every classroom and in every student and teacher's hand because it has become the pen and paper of our time, and it's a lens through which we should experience much of our world. Says David Warlick. I think we should be using technology in every way possible to cope with the situation. And thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you for your patience.
thank you, ma'am, for delivering
Thank you,
such
sir.
wonderful and interactive session and on session. On behalf of Department of Computer and Information Sciences, Jagadguru Rambhadracha Divyang University, I have expressed my heartiest thanks to P. Subbulakshmi by my inner heart. I am also thankful to all participants to view this interactive lecture on YouTube channel. Thank you once again, ma'am. Thank you to all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me, sir. Thank you.